Welcome to Wise Minds, Wild Hearts, the podcast for heart-led high achievers just like you, ready to take inspired action and achieve true alignment. If you're craving deeper influence, greater impact, and a life that genuinely lights you up, you're in the right place. I'm Kip Clark, former academic turned entrepreneur, transformational coach, elite athlete, and shameless fountain pen addict. Here, you'll learn how to leverage the beautiful wisdom of your years with the wild passion that drives you forward. Together, we'll break through those limiting beliefs, unlock the power of your subconscious mind, and create a life that aligns with your soul's desire. Ready to create the kind of impact you've always dreamed of? Let's do this. If you're not experiencing imposter syndrome, you're not playing a big enough game. How does that statement land with you? Do you feel indignant? Have those butterflies awakened in your belly? Are you confused? Whatever your reaction to it, just notice it. Turn your full attention on it. Look at what might be underneath it, because I promise you when you do, you'll find some belief there that probably needs unpacking. Welcome back to Wise Minds, Wild Hearts. I'm Kip Clark, and today I want to dive into this topic that might be causing some discomfort for you. It's that icky feeling of imposter syndrome. And this might sound counterintuitive, but stick with me here, because by the end of this episode, I'm hoping you'll see why this feeling is actually a sign that you're on the right track. Recently, I had a conversation with a fellow coach who's on the brink of something really extraordinary. She's been pushing herself into uncharted territory and taking on a challenge that's way outside her comfort zone. And as you can probably guess, imposter syndrome has reared its spiky head big time, and she's been struggling with it. Now, because I've been working for a while with high achievers, and because I'm a high achiever myself, with all the challenges, the hiccups, and the potential pitfalls that entails, I've noticed something really interesting about us high achievers. Imposter syndrome is really just a natural part of our world. I mean, think about it. We're wired to be constantly creating our next big thing. We're not people who tend to rest on our laurels, who accomplish one thing and then say, okay, well, that's it for me. I'm good. I'll just coast for the rest of my life here. No way. We're the kind of people who sometimes don't take enough time to celebrate the wins because we're right onto the next thing we want to create. And usually that next thing is something a little bigger, a little more audacious, a little more impactful than the last. So, of course, imposter syndrome shows up. If it doesn't, we're not aiming high enough. It's truly that simple. So, what do we do with this uncomfortable feeling? The first thing I want to share is that imposter syndrome isn't a sign that you're unqualified or that you're a fraud. It's a sign that you're growing, you're expanding, and you're playing in a bigger arena than you have before. You're stepping into a role that challenges your current self-image, and that's exactly what you should be doing. Because here's the truth. If you're not feeling some level of imposter syndrome, you're probably staying too comfortable, playing too small. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when you stretch yourself, when you push your limits, when you step into the unknown. Now, let me just get personal here for a moment. I have faced imposter syndrome more times than I can count. And one episode that stands out for me was when I was an academic and I'd been given a course to teach that was just way outside my areas of expertise and therefore way outside my comfort zone. And boy, did I feel like an imposter at first. I was in huge resistance. But you know what? That feeling was exactly what I needed to propel myself forward, to push harder, to learn faster. It wasn't comfortable, I won't lie, but it was necessary. And what I found was that when I was just simply honest with my students and I told them, hey, you know what, this is the first time I'm teaching this course, so bear with me, the fear dissipated. And I found I could actually have fun just by being curious about the curriculum and about myself in this new teaching role with this new course that I hadn't taught before. And definitely there were times when I was asked a question I couldn't answer, but I chose not to try to hide that. And I would just say, I don't know the answer to that right now, but let's figure it out together. Or, maybe I'll find out and I'll let you know tomorrow. But more typically it was like, let's try and figure this out together. So it ended up being a much more powerful experience for everybody because I got to model for students a way of being that was really freeing for me and much more authentic. And they responded to that. It was amazing. When the course was over and I surveyed my students, I always did a survey at the end of my courses, and I asked for their feedback both on the course and on how I had delivered it. The most common response I got was that they really respected my honesty and they learned so much more from me about how to handle adversity. They actually expressed deep appreciation for how willing I was to just get in the trenches with them, and they felt inspired by how how I'd handled the challenge before me. So quite often the thing we fear, the thing that causes the imposter syndrome to show up in us in the first place, it turns out to be so much less than we anticipated. In fact, what I found is the anticipation of something is often far worse than the thing itself when it actually happens. So, why is it we sometimes shy away from playing a bigger game? Well, firstly, because staying small feels safer. Our brains are kind of wired to avoid risks. This is, humankind in general. Our brains are just wired that way. We're wired to seek out comfort or to stay within the boundaries of what's already familiar to us. It's kind of in our DNA. Because, for most of the thousands and thousands of generations of ancestors that came before each of us, they lived under constant and significant threat, a kind of existential threat every day. And it's really only been the last several generations of ancestors that have had an easier time of it. I mean, even just a few hundred years ago, a small cut on your finger could have cost you your life from sepsis. Never mind all the myriad other threats you would have faced on a daily basis. So no wonder we experience fear, including imposter syndrome, when we contemplate doing something big and bold. But today, for us, the cost of playing small is huge. You miss out on exploring your full potential. You miss out on the impact you could be making. You miss out on the life you're truly capable of living. So, how do you embrace imposter syndrome instead of letting it hold you back, instead of letting it grip you, that awful feeling? Well, here are a few strategies. First of all, you can just reframe it. So see imposter syndrome really as a sign that you're on the right path. It means you're about to do something significant, something worth doing. So it's not about, you're not qualified, you don't have the credentials, you're a fraud. Don't think of it that way. It's just you are stretching yourself. You're thinking about taking this big, bold step. And so, of course, you're going to feel some nervousness, some trepidation. You're going to feel a bit of that imposter syndrome. It is a sign. It's a sign for you. It's your soul saying, look, this is important here. And so let's just bring our full attention, all our senses to this. Let's just bring everything we've got to it. So reframing it is the first thing. It's a sign. It's not something to fear. It's a sign that you're on the right path. The second strategy is to maybe get some extra support. Don't go it alone. Find a mentor, find a coach, or some kind of a community that can support you through that discomfort. Sometimes just knowing that others have been there and they've come out on the other side, that can be incredibly reassuring. There's really no substitute for being in a community of like-minded people who are all up to something big and who are passionate about making the world a better place. You're going to find a lot of comfort in that. And then thirdly, celebrate the small wins. Focus on progress, not perfection. Every step you take, no matter how small, that's a step in the right direction. And even if it doesn't go exactly how you thought, it's okay. You can handle it. You can handle it. Just keep moving forward. So now here's my challenge for you. I want you to identify an area in your life where you're playing small. Where are you staying safe? Where have you been settling? Because remember, if you're feeling that imposter syndrome creeping in, you're very likely on the right track for something. So imposter syndrome, it's not a sign that you're a fraud, that you don't have what it takes, or you don't know enough yet. It's a sign that you're growing. It's a signal that you're onto something important and you're being invited to put some skin in the game. And as high achievers, we're all about being in the game. We're never happy when we're just over there sitting on the bleachers watching others create amazing results. We love to be in the thick of it. So next time you start feeling like an imposter, don't back down. Lean into it. Embrace it. And know that you're receiving a powerful signal that you're doing exactly what you need to do. Okay, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for turning in to Wise Minds, Wild Hearts. As always, I want to leave you with this question. What's one thing you can do today to move the needle on your next big goal? Let's keep playing those big games together. See you next time. All right, my friends, that's it for this episode. If this has been helpful to you, let me know. I love to hear about all the positive changes you're making in your life. And if there's someone you know who might benefit from hearing this message, please share the love, my friend. See you next time on Wise Minds, Wild Hearts.